Hi, it's Nicole from A Day of Small Things. I'm in Durham today, as you can see, trying to walk down the steps very smoothly. I'm here for the fortnightly seminars. As usual, the dissertation seminar in the morning and the uses of literature seminar in the afternoon. I come here today with an experiment, so let me explain a little bit. So for the literature, for the uses of literature seminar specifically, we always need to do readings as part of the preparation, and I've always done that. But for the last few seminars, I noticed that I really struggled to join in the discussion, and I've been thinking about it. This might be obvious to you, but it had just occurred to me. I just discovered or realized that I couldn't join in the discussion very much because I hadn't thought about the things that I read each week very much. I spent all my time reading because there were always quite a lot of reading, but I never had time to think much before the seminar happens. So I sometimes even read all the way up to breakfast. So I would be reading in Greg's before I go to the seminar. But for the discussion, I have to think, right? And I always have to think on the spot when the professor asks a question, which is not my forte. I'm not very good at thinking on the spot, especially for complicated literary questions. So I feel very silly that I only realized this problem at this point, because after today I only have one more seminar to go. But it's better late than never. Is that how it goes? So for today's seminar, I did all my readings, and I also made notes for some of the things that I found interesting or I have questions about. So let's see if that helps with my discussions, help with me joining the discussions. So I'm just going to the seminars now. I will report by the end of the day. Hello, I am back at my library now. Here's my day. I'm going to give you a report. So the dissertation seminar this morning was about Korea and how to make the skills we acquire during our English degree transferable and how to talk about them. It was very helpful, but the most interesting discussion was actually about the usefulness and uselessness of an English degree. I hope, since you are watching my video, you don't think reading literature is useless or having an English degree is useless. But the fact is, an English degree doesn't really guarantee you a good job. An English degree usually means that you will have a job that will give you less money, less income than people who study engineering or, medicine, a lot of other subjects and professions. English is really not very popular at the moment. So it was interesting to come together with an English professor and to just have a chat about the kind of gloomy prospect of our future. What can we do with our degree? And the talks that are out there at the moment that kind of make us think our study useless. Just, put it out there. What do you think? What is the use of studying not just English literature, but just generally the arts and humanities subjects? Should we all be just studying the STEM subjects and make the economy grow, or I don't know what those subjects do, make rockets, which are much more useful for the society, while the students of history or philosophy or music, they just sit in their room and dig into books and not having much impact to the world. Anyway, that's that. So in the afternoon, I went to the Uses of Literature seminar. I told you this morning about my experiment. Did it work? Yes and no. It's the most frustrating answer, I know. But yes, I definitely talked more during the seminar, a lot more than before. But did I talk sense? Part of the time, not all of the time. But I think at this point, I just want to join in the conversations and not care too much about if I'm making sense. I feel like that's a start. So what did we discuss today? So 2 bodies of works specifically. So The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser and a collection of poems by George Herbert. So The Fairy Queen first. The goal of Fairy Queen is to fashion virtues. So that's what Edmund Spenser said explicitly to his friend in the introduction, whatever, appendix, prologue, epilogue of The Fairy Queen. His goal is to fashion virtues. So the story, there are a few books in The Fairy Queen, I don't know how many, we only read one. So in different books, different knights go on quests to become virtuous. And the one we specifically read was Book 2, Canto 12, which is the famous Bower of Bliss. So there's this temptress called Acrasia, who embodies sin and sexual pleasure and just drinking too much and glitters and golden glitters and all that kind of bad things are bad for you. So this Sir Guyon has to resist her and the temptations and to destroy the Bower of Bliss. So that's his job. So obviously Spenser is writing for the pursuit of virtue and resistance of sin. But while he writes that, he spills a lot of ink on the sinful temptress, on the beauty and luxury of the Bower of Bliss. There's a lot of description of the place, a lot of description of what she does, her beauty. So the question is, why does Spenser do that? Why is he so compelling in what he condemns? So that's one of the subjects, which leads to the subject, or the question rather, where is the place of pleasure in literature? In early modern England, the sweet and useful kind of standard and principle of good literature, useful is always first, sweet is always secondary, and the sweetness is always a means to an end. So the end is always the virtue and the moral usefulness. The pleasure of literature is always secondary. So early modern writers cannot pursue pleasure or beauty for its own sake. And you can see that a lot in a lot of the writings in that era, in The Fairy Queen as well. The other writer we looked at was George Herbert. He wrote devotional poems, and a lot of it was about God and his faith. We read The Temple, which is a collection of poems, and the first one, The Church Porch, is very typical. It's a long poem giving advice on godly living, basically. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't spend too much money, you shouldn't be drinking too much. A whole long list of advice on how you should behave and live. But there's also a very interesting shorter poem called Prayer. I'm going to finish on this. I am going to read it out for you so you can hear and see it. And as one of the poems in this devotional collection, I want to ask you, do you think he wrote it for the same purpose as The Church Porch, which we just said is about godly living and pursuing virtue, basically? Is Prayer, which is the title of this poem, aiming to do the same thing? Or is George Herbert writing this poem for poetic pleasure? Right, so here is the poem. Prayer, the church's banquet, angel's age, God's breath in man returning to his birth, the soul in paraphrase, heart in pilgrimage, the Christian plummet sounding heaven and earth. Engine against the Almighty, sinner's tower, reversed asunder, Christ's side piercing spear, the 6 days world transposing in an hour, a kind of tune which all things hear and fear. Softness and peace and joy and love and bliss, exalted manner, gladness of the best. Heaven in ordinary, man well dressed, the Milky Way, the bird of paradise. Church bells beyond the stars heard, the soul's blood, the land of spices, something understood. Surprise! I am back in Durham. I didn't know that I was coming back, so a one-day vlog is turning into a two-day vlog. I hope you don't mind. I want to show you even more what I've been doing, and it is quite interesting so far, so I decided to add it into this video. As you can see, I just had lunch. It's quite nice to be able to have a proper sit-down lunch for once, because usually my uni days are on Monday and the two seminars are quite close to each other, and it gives me a 1 hour lunch break, and that usually means I only have time to eat a sandwich or a Greg's sandwich. So today I went to the Teaching and Learning Center. I'm still in the Teaching and Learning Center, and they have a lovely cafe. They have cold food, as in salad boxes. That's what I had today. And they also have hot food for very affordable price, because this is for students.
So I'm very glad that I was able to do that today and show you my lunch. So let me tell you about the session in the morning. It was a academic writing session, and it was specifically the basics of academic writing. A lot of students didn't turn up because everyone is a MA student and they probably don't need the help, but I need all the help I can get. And the tuition fee, it's an enormous amount of money, so I come to everything I can manage. That's why I'm here a second day this week. So it turns out that the basics are not that obvious, because some of the students who did turn up, they were British local students and they did English as their undergrad degree. And one of them was very honest, and I really like her, how honest she was. She said she was never taught these things, even though we are now at the MA level. We should have known this a long time ago. So I thought it was because of me personally. I didn't go through undergrad study. I didn't go through any English training, so it's all a bit new to me, but apparently that's not the case. So I was really glad I was there. The session really addressed some of the questions I've been having recently. Yesterday I was just telling you, right? I was telling you how I was not able to join the discussions very well, very productively, because I had to kind of feel my ways around how to do seminar preparation, how to do reading, how to do the thinking, how to prepare for the discussions. I was not taught any of it, and it was taken for granted, I guess, that everybody knew by this stage already. Because if you get accepted by an English MA degree, you should know how to join in a discussion. So fair enough. I didn't know because I didn't go through all the training. And also reflecting on my first year, especially the essay writing. I did really well in my first year. I got distinctions for not only one, but two of my essays in one specific module. My long-term viewers, if you've been following me last year, you know it was the narrative transformations module, and the other one was creative non-fiction. That was a writing module. I got merit for that one as well. So, but recently I got a really bad essay mark, really bad as a result, and that just made me think I don't really know the system of writing a good essay or the method of writing a good essay. I did really well last year because I was lucky. The way I was thinking just happened to be right, and this year it just happened to be not right. Again, I was just feeling my way writing my essays, and I was not taught how to do it the right way. I'm not finding myself excuses, because I'm not saying the bad essay mark is wrong. It's my fault that I didn't do my essay very well. I didn't perform very well. It is my fault. But the reason is I haven't learned. So I'm going to address that issue and try to solve that problem, so next time I can do better, right? And this seminar was exactly what I was thinking about, what I was hoping for. Obviously, it was a very short session. It was only an hour, but I'm going to benefit so much from this 1 hour of tuition than a lot of the previous sessions. I learned a lot from previous sessions as well, but they all kind of come from the understanding that you already know how to write essay. We're just helping you to sit down to write or to improve. I don't know how to use AI, but this is actually about and what do you write in each paragraph. And I just found it so helpful. She also gave us a piece of paper that is basically the questions you answer for peer review or for a writing workshop. So you would use this list of questions to measure and judge the essay you are looking at, the essay you are trying to improve either for yourself or for your friend. So yeah, now I vaguely have a method. Unbelievable. Just like a few days after I started thinking about this, and here is one of the solutions. So yeah, I'm really, really glad I came today. Alright, so that's that. I am going to hang around for about an hour here. I don't come here very often because it's far away. It's next to the library, so it's very far away from the train station. If you watched the episode of me walking around Durham getting lost, you'd know. So I'm hanging around for an hour because there's another one-off seminar happening at 4:30, which is to do with Shakespeare. That's why I'm staying. There are a lot of things happening. If you want, you can join things every day. I'm at the train station. I am going home. It's almost the end of the day. I'm a bit tired now. The talk was interesting. I will just do a very, very brief summary. I cannot do the professor or her talk justice this late at night. It will just be an insult. So apologies. I hope the professor or any of my professors will never see my videos. The talk was called The Life Likeness in Shakespeare. So it was about the characters who are not in the plays. So for this talk specifically, The Winter's Tale. For example, the baby in Hermione's womb, or Leontes' childhood and how he sees himself, his childhood, in his son. And a lot of mentions of fabric and textile. I think I should stop there. This is the end of the vlog. I hope you enjoyed coming along. That's all for today. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching. I will see you in my next one. And there's a train just leaving. Bye.